I'm about to show you a very tried and tested way of breaking into accounts that you shouldn't be able to do as a early stage B2B business and your first time selling. And it's all about when you know that you should sell to a named account and they need your transformation, how do you actually get them to the first meeting? Now, some of the ways in industry that it can happen is that you can go to your normal sort of trade shows and conferences, and you might get lucky, but unless you're paying a lot of money or you're in a speaking slot for some apparent reason, you're really not going to be able to have a list of named accounts that allows us to be a repeatable process that's actually cost effective when you're first starting out. So I like to write that off. Number two, ads are great for finding people that already have intent to buy that just don't know who you are. But what about if you're dealing with a highly dysfunctional bureaucracy that you're selling to, whether it's a business, a government department, or a huge multinational? Ads generally don't work on them fundamentally because they don't have ownership for the problem, or they may not have been tasked yet with the transformation, or the transformation itself might be in tatters and no one really wants to talk about it. So they generally don't respond to ads. So if you've ever used targeting ads on an enterprise account, the chances of conversion there are not worth the spend. And if you've ever tried LinkedIn ads just for targeting named accounts, you probably have already tried to figure that out anyway, and it hasn't worked and you've blown some cash. The last thing you can do, which is a little bit more repeatable than everything here, is hire someone that used to work there so they tell you the secrets or to get you access to the organization. Now, this is a very expensive way of doing it, but I also think it's the riskiest way of doing it. Because what happens if you'd hired someone from the named account that you're trying to break into and they were fired or they left on bad terms, or where the momentum is in the transformation right now, or the person or economic sponsors driving it just didn't like them? Until you've got a lot of money, this really isn't a tenable path for a B2B startup, mainly because you can't afford too many of them. And when you eventually get into large enterprise motions, you probably can do this really repeatably. I did, and it drastically enhanced the process and enriched the thing that I'm about to show you because it gave you more control of the whole motion. But right now, getting a repeatable direct sales process into a named account that needs your transformation, you either have to get lucky or spend a crap load of money and then get lucky. So I'm going to show you something that doesn't require luck, but does require discipline, does require being a little bit unconventional, and as usual in the counterpart process, throwing you into an uncomfortable environment in order to get the gold. But it is repeatable, it does work, and fundamentally, it does create value for the customer at each step, which is the most important thing. So what is it? Well, it's what we call a swarm. And a swarm for a direct account is different for a partner. We have another video on that coming. Check it out when it does. But a direct account swarm is a sales approach where you have a named account, and when you swarm it, you try to find a meeting everywhere you can. So you don't just look for your ICP buyer, you actually look for any single way you can get in the organization. And the difference between a swarm approach and, say, a territorial approach is that all sales resources get put on that one named account until you acquire it. Fundamentally, putting all your eggs in one basket. But if you're really good at targeting and you know how to apply this, it is way easier to do this. The conversion rate is way higher, and it's a way less risky process that you can do with less people. Especially with the world of AI tools, it's become even easier. So this is what we call a swarm. And a swarm is a really, really simple step-by-step process to get your first prospect meeting in your named account. And it starts with finding out what we call a Black Swan Insight. And the Black Swan Insight that we're looking for, if you haven't heard of a Black Swan secret, insight, or data point, a Black Swan is a rare, unpredictable piece of information that if you knew about it, it would inspire action. So when we're trying to sell transformation, we need our customer to either commence the transformation process, understand and restart the transformation process, or they're in transformation and they're stuck. And so finding out this occurring is actually really hard because large dysfunctional bureaucracies don't tend to share when they're delivering a transformation until it's done, or maybe right at the start. So we want to find out a hidden, rare, unpredictable piece of information that shows the organization that we're approaching that we've done our groundwork and we're inherently placed to help them. Because if we've got a Black Swan insight, we can actually take that insight, if it is applicable, and go, hey, we found out this super rare piece of information that no one would have been able to guess, and we think our unfair advantage, or we think our offer, or we think our product, or we think our service actually releases you from this Black Swan event that could occur, or this Black Swan insight that's holding you back, or this Black Swan insight that's stopping you from start, so that you can actually get the transformative outcome and your transformation back on track. In other words, we're looking for clues. The better the clue aligns up to one of our strengths, the easier it's going to be to get this prospect meeting. Now, no one does this because they run generally a territorial approach. So to have one account executive try to find this out is actually pretty hard. And when you're a small business, it's really hard because time is everything. And so, but there is a really efficient way of doing it. And what we used to do was really, really simple. We just used to ring up 3 to 5 people that used to work there and ask them why they left. We also used to ask them about the types of transformations and problems they were solving after introducing our unfair advantage. Now, this is a really, really easy process. If you go at the director level or you go at a level that's probably not the SVP and down, people will tell you. They'll either tell you because they're happy and it was a great place to work and they want them to win. They'll tell you because they're neutral, and in the LinkedIn world, when you reach out to someone about, say, a job or an opportunity or about their experience, most people will say yes. And last but not least, they might even tell you because they're really upset, they will let go, and they want to vent. So how do you overcome what is real and what's not? You just have to ring more people. So if you feel like, hey, I feel like they're not telling the truth, there's no validity, I can't apply any discretion that this is a real piece of information that could be super useful, a Black Swan, I might have to call more people. You can also just replace calling with texting. If you're on LinkedIn, jumping in the DMs and actually find out why. And if you get really stuck, we just used to buy these people lunch, invite them to our office, harder to do now than it used to be, or give them a benefit, almost like filling out a survey or some form of voucher. But getting this key piece of information starts the process. And once we start the process, the conversion rate really jumps up. So then once we get that Black Swan insight, we write a short email and message copy and script, 1, 2, 3 here, LinkedIn DM, email, call, that actually has the Black Swan insight, our unfair advantage, and a very clear call to action on how we can help them. And generally how we can help them is providing them more insights so that they can go away and solve it themselves. It's really, really, really important at this stage that when you message as a helpful person on the journey versus a hard-hitting salesperson. And so when you say, hey, we have this information, we think our unfair advantage can solve this, we want to give you an insight meeting, just write stuff like, there is actually no obligation to buy from us. We have a lot of value. This is something that we really care about. And it actually links into our lofty vision for the market to change. And then all of a sudden, someone will be like, oh my God, you found out this secret clue that we want no one to know about or we didn't know about. Both are embarrassing. And they go, hey, this person's actually pretty reasonable. I think they're actually trying to help me. Maybe I should talk to them. So what's really, really important is that you then take that Black Swan insight and you turn it into copy that presents you as a helpful agent on the journey with a lofty goal, which includes your unfair advantage and a very clear CTA for an insight meeting, and no obligation to continue afterwards. All of a sudden, we've gone from someone that's sneaky to someone that's helpful. Once we've got that copy, We then build a list for this organization and we find every single person we can reach out to, and we just want to talk to them to better understand this Black Swan Insight or deliver the Insight meeting. The chances of getting straight into the Insight meeting aren't that high. You could get really lucky and be like, oh my God, you've come at the perfect time. We were just talking about this. But we really just want to keep building the intelligence picture on what is holding back, stopping the transformation from starting or unleashing it. And so what we're going to do is a LinkedIn connection to the prospect, an email connection to the prospect, and call the prospect. And that's every single person on the list, done by every single team member, which is a really, really important thing. One day we were reaching out to a customer and the customer got 50 messages from our company across email, LinkedIn, and calls. Like 3 or 4 people were involved in this swarm. And guess what? They were like, what the hell do you people want? Our response was really, really simple. We found out this Black Swan. We have this unfair advantage. We really want to work with you because we have this lofty vision and we want to give you a no obligation insight meeting. All of a sudden, someone that's super about being annoyed is super happy, is like, oh, okay, I guess we could do that. Or actually, I get it now. Or I actually believe you. We usually get slapped with a lot of stuff. This is extremely thoughtful. So in the way that you swarm them, you actually overwhelm them. And when they say, hey, why are you annoying us with this? You just say, we really want to work with you. And we really want to work with you because what you're doing is aligned with our vision, because we found out this piece of information and we can give you this value. All of a sudden, that stress, that apprehension that can come from people being disrupted turns into a higher level of trust because of the investment that you've put in becomes really obvious. And also, just don't be a dick. It's really, really easy to just come across as polite, helpful, hopeful, and positive and convicted versus be like, hey man, why are you bothered? Why are we trying to give you so value, defensive and negative? If you're defensive and negative, like anything in sales, people are just going to tell you to piss off. So we want to avoid that. So that's how we run the campaign. Now, if you want to really, really enhance it, what we do at Counterparts is we first send the email, we track opens and clicks. That goes into a more invested response where we then do LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, we go through our normal LinkedIn messaging. And once we get a response or a response from LinkedIn, we then turn that into a call and we give the client a call. All of a sudden, we're responding to a client's level of intent as we build more information on their response. That is what we do at Counterparts. It's super, super effective to quickly move in and find those prospects that are actually what we call counterparts, who are actually really interested in this and finding people that get to the bottom of things being a black swan and doing it and making it easy for them in the process, which is all of this work we've done in the front end. So the next time you start to scrape together a territory and you're trying to say, hey, how did that small company get that big customer as a client? Maybe they did something exceptional and unconventional. And the thing that any B2B business can do is something called a swarm. And it works for direct accounts, and it's way more repeatable and consistent than trade shows, ads, and hiring someone when you're really small. And it's a very, very simple process where you find a piece of information that's stopping the transformation from happening or starting. You write the copy that references how your insights, unfair advantage, value, and vision are all aligned for you, helping them do this or resolving maybe what you found in the Black Insight from happening. And then going all ham on getting a meeting with a counterpart in the organization by putting all of your resources on this account until they say yes for an insight meeting, or they desperately tell you to leave them alone, which they could do, which you just drop, and then you move on to the next account and apply the same process. When I did this for my business, our direct sales motion, went from selling 30,000 to 1.5 million first time purchase. Our sales cycle went from 9 months to 8 weeks. With a partner, it goes. And last but not least, our conversion rate jumped up from 7 to 32%. So you can do this process or not, but it definitely got our business from 1 million in direct sales to over about 14 million in 15 months in recurring revenue. We can do it. We were just a bunch of soldiers. You can do it too. And it's a simple process of putting all your in one basket, finding out the information, running the alignment in terms of value, and then doing all of your resources to find that one person or group of people that are either working on the transformation that's stuck, trying to start it, or try to unleash it. That's what we call a counterpart direct sales swarm. If you're stuck in building revenue and acquiring big accounts or dysfunctional bureaucracies of your customer, try it. It's a way of breaking in without blowing your money or mind on conferences, ads, or hiring a lot of people that maybe just got fired. Good luck.